So what are we doing today? Today we are trying to take a look at some decks. This is the first of maybe many, maybe very few, but this is competitive for cheap question mark. And this is the deck profile, a budget GT Pan deck, and I'm gonna go right into it. And if you don't know already, this is Pan, the Pan leader. I'm gonna kind of explain this. Basically, if you're going into the game and you want to start going to locals, and you know, one of the deck profiles that I do that is for quote unquote budget is one of your favorite leaders, and for me, Pan is gonna be one of the top tier leaders. I mean, if you look at Hartford, whatever it's called, as soon as that's done, I'm telling you, she's gonna be at least top 10. I'm very sure, just behind or in front of all of the Ginyu and yellow leaders. Now, if you're just getting to the game, I would highly recommend to pick up a starter deck, if not all of them. All of them have their own sort of feel to them, and as well as intent. Pan is more of a defensive slash, I would say she's very defensive, and yet she can go and be offensive and explode quite well, and she has a lot of draw power. So if you are looking for something for draw power and as well as defensive power, then this is the place for you. For her, whenever you play a battle card, choose that card. It gains 5,000 for the duration of the turn, and if its power is 20,000 or more, so this is after or even before the summoning, so it can be 15,000 and then adding 5,000, you can draw one card. So once per turn. It does not say your turn, it does not say the opponent's turn, if it says per turn. So if you play something, which is very possible, again, if you're new, on their turn, which is 20,000 or more, then you get to draw a card. And of course, this one is 4 or less, and you draw, or you switch 2 to active when you flip the card over. She has the same exact effect on the other side, which is fine. There's no issue with that at all. And there's a lot of directions before I go into this deck that you can take with this deck. But again, this is very much focused on if you are just starting out, and this is the starter deck, and you bought 2, which is kind of the thing that you should do. If you ever do buy a starter deck, you should buy 2, because a lot of them a lot of cards in the deck only come in 2, and you'll have 4 as a playset. Anyway, so this is very standard, I would say, but again, very focused on being a budget deck under 50 bucks. And that was kind of the thing that I wanted to do with all the quote unquote, that's where some quotations right there, quote unquote budget decks under 50 bucks. Now, I kind of chose all of these very carefully, not only the number and ratios for it, but also the cards for it. If you change anything, let's say 2 or 3 cards, you kind of change the deck, and as well as the direction for it. And again, there's a lot of ways you can take this deck, and just in general. So going through it, this is a GT engine. So if you didn't know already, again, this is kind of directed to people who are starting out. The GT engine has all the GT cards, so the Grand Tour spaceship sort of is the GT engine. I only have 3 in here because I don't want to draw a dead card. 2 is too less, 4 is too many, and you don't really want to start out with the Grand Tour spaceship. You don't want to tap out on that on the second turn, or if we have 2 energy. That's just me. That's just my playstyle, and I recommend to have 3, so that way you don't have a dead card early in. Anyway, so the GT engine has the Son Goku GT, the Trunks GT, Pan, and as well as Giru, everybody there, and sometimes even Super Saiyan for Goku if you have that. I mean, if you want, you can play him in here, but I mean, I don't really recommend it. GT Ginyu is kind of better, and even then, that's not really a budget deck, because that card alone is like 60-70 bucks right now. So, I mean, you can have one card as a deck. I don't think that's gonna work out. So. Starting out, skipping the Mass Saiyan, because I'll get into that. Rushing Warrior Pan. If you play this card, choose up to 1 of the card red card, leader cards, or battle cards, it gains 5,000. So pretty standard. And also when you combo with it from the battle area, not from your hand, you draw 1. So even more draw power, and it's more on not a turn 1 card, but when you have a card on the field and you want to give it that boost. So if you have Quick Force Trunks or Determined Super Saiyan Goku, it's gonna be those, and then you can combo into it to give it 5,000 more and then draw a card. So very useful. Or on the defensive side, combo into it and then combo another card or counter another card. I don't know, whatever you want to do. It's very useful in general. Saiyan Kaba, one of the only actual kind of expensive cards. There's only 2 other cards that are actually quote-unquote expensive, but Saiyan Kaba is a card where you attack and the auto is you choose 1 card from your life and add it to your hand. If you do so, this card gains 10,000 power and double strike, so it gets 15,000 power and double strike. Very standard. If you watched any of my other staple videos, this does have it in there because a lot of people run it in red decks or anything that does have red to self-awakening, and it's one of the most useful cards to apply pressure early on or even later, just as a surprise, and then self-awaken as well. So very good card. On an awakening, the bootleg Sensu Bean, you negate the attack and then choose your red Saiyan, which she is, and it gains 5,000 power for the duration of turn. And now, one of the things I did miss, I'm sorry, now that I just realized, I just kind of tried to go into it. Pan, again, is not the starter deck leader, but she is one of the common or actually rare leader cards that you get in Cross Worlds. So when you do buy it, you do get the other Goku. I'll pull them up right here. Again, I personally don't really like having to play him because it just doesn't really work out a lot of the time. Basically when it attacks the leader card on an unawakened side, to draw 1 and then active 2. I wish this was flip 2 and draw 2. I think that would be better and people will play it more. But anyway, during your turn, when your when your life is 3 or less, this card gains 5,000 power. I just can't talk today. And then of course it has a draw effect, and if it's 25,000 or more, it gains double strike. I don't personally think it's really all that great. I think there's a lot of ways to make it great. I just don't really feel like it's that good when Pan is here as an easier, more competitive, and just overall better sort of way to do it. Anyway, this is a search top 7 for Red GT Goku. You would be getting these guys, or even him for your 1 cost super combo. Grand Tour Spaceship, as I was playing before, is looked at the top 7, and then you can summon Quick Rush Trunks, this Goku, even the Pan or Goku, but really the targets for these are going to be these 2 guys. You want to have these critical guys on there, so if you are playing on turn 2 or turn 3, it's going to be really good to keep these guys on there. Very good card in general, and a lot of people really give it a lot of praise, I guess. I personally think if you whiff, that's just two wasted energy right then and there. And if you draw it and you're trying to draw something decent or something useful, there you go. It's still bad, especially if it's late game and you know you might whiff, unless you already know. Anyway, I think it's a good card. 3 is good enough. If you want to run 4, you can. You just got to reduce one of these ratios here. Quick Rush Trunks, 2 drop, 15,000 critical. So if you're going to be using the Grand Tour Spaceship for him, that's no problem. It's the same kind of energy. It's just that you're taking a chance with that one. If you drop this one, you do draw a card and it gains 5,000. So it's a 20,000 strike or 20,000 critical card. And Handy Guru is the super combo for this leader for red in general, and it is searchable by this, and as well as Machine Minions, which might be another cheap deck. Determined Super Saiyan Son Goku, this is a critical card for 3, 15,000, again searchable by this, and if your life is 4 or less, you increase this by 2, and you're wondering why would I do that? And that's mainly for this one. So you have to place to EX Evolve. So if you don't know what EX Evolve is, again, this is directed to people who are new. You pay 1 green or 1 red energy. So you pay the energy, you place any of these cards that you have into the drop, and you place that one on top of this one. So this is going to be the only target that you have at 4 or less, because it's requiring a 5 or more. You probably won't, you can't do it with this guy because he's only 4. and that's why. So I'll quickly get into this one. He does have double strike, and then when you do attack, it's just like Jiren, where you switch this card to active mode, and then you gain 5,000 power for the duration of turn. So you attack, and it goes right back to active mode, and then it gains 5,000 power, and now it has 30,000 for the rest of the turn, basically. So that's very, very, very good. You can attack twice, and you can combo with these or this later into the game, or even him to play him. I mean, you have a lot of options. This guy is probably going to be your game ender. Hopefully you're applying enough pressure with criticals, and then try to attack with a 30,000 double striker, or even more if you combo up. Bodyguard Logic is there, so that way in the beginning of the game, or when you get board wiped, you can play this bad boy for free. He's a blocker, and then when they have battle cards in their area and you don't, you get to play it without any energy costs. And that is a real quick draw, because he is 15,000. Probably one of the best cards you can run it, but because you have Goku, because you have Grand Tour Spaceship, because you have Kaba, all these very easy things to play and get it on the board, most of the time you're gonna have something on your board, and you don't want to pay three costs for that. So it's really, again, about your playstyle and how you intend to use the deck. To me, I think critical, early critical, early awakening, giving other things power for the critical or for whatever, and then later on, if you do get board wiped, I would probably be using the Bodyguard Logic. Otherwise, it's gonna be energy for me. Double shot, Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. The reason why I said this is a kind of a defensive deck most of the time is because of the way that some of these cards are functional, or how they function. So Bodyguard Logic is kind of defensive, and then basically when you do, or if you are on the opponent's turn, and then you try to attack either, your Quick Push Trunks and you have an energy open, or just the leader in general, you can play this bad boy for 1 energy, and then you play him in rest mode on their turn, because your leader card is red. And then when you do that, it's 20,000 or more, because it's 15 and gains 5,000, and then you draw. So pretty useful. Chain Attack Trunks, the only reason why I have 2 here is because when you take a look at your targets for Chain Attack Trunks, it's only going to be Quick Push Trunks, and as well as Son Goku. I mean, you can play him, and these guys, but the most use out of them are going to be these 2, and those are going to be kind of your bread and butter. That's what I would say. So you evolve or 2 for Trunks GT, so the Quick Push Trunks, or just Quick Push Trunks. And then it can attack cards in battle mode or active mode, so that's very, very useful and very good. And when you play this card, you choose 1 battle card with 15,000 or less power, and then play it. So you draw for him, you play another guy, and then most likely when you do it, you could be playing him, dropping him, and then EX evolving him, and then swinging for game. Unbreakable Super Saiyan Son Goku. A lot of people love this card because it is a free super combo, basically, just for 1. It does have barrier. I mean, you're never gonna really play him. You could evolve him on him, but whenever you do evolve him or combo with the card, you draw 1. So on a defensive end, or if you're trying to apply pressure with a critical or try to protect your critical guys, it's gonna be this guy. And then Topo, I only have 2. I know. That's the only reason why I have 3 here and then 2. The bootleg Senzu Bean is good at 3, and then Topo is good for 2. I personally only play 2. You could play 3 if you want to, but 2 is good because you get to you have to use 2 red energy, and when I personally play Japan, I'm usually using most of the energy on my turn, and then 1 or 2 open for theirs. And if I do play 2, I get to draw a card because it does reduce the cost by 2. If your looter card is 15,000 or more, or their looter card is 15,000 or more, you can negate the attack and you play the card. So when you play the card, you draw, and that's overall just really good. And when you do get to play the card and you swing against their battle card and you KO it, it switches right back to active mode. So very, very good card. Again, only play 2 because I usually just don't use the 2 energy, or I don't have it open and I don't want to use it. I'd rather have it open for another counter, or this guy or this guy. That's generally what I would do. Again, is that right? Maybe, I don't know. That's why this has a question mark at the title. But overall, I mean, I play this deck quite a bit in locals and as well as untap, and it does pretty good. And again, I already explained this guy. So overall, a really good card. Again, I didn't explain this guy. So the reason why I put this guy in here is because again, if you deal with a lot of removal, or if you're using your Handy Gurus and Unending Awakenings, you have 5 or so into the drop. There's only 2 of them, so when you do need it, it usually pops up. It's usually there for you. And it's a double striker with Overwhelm. So you pay 1, you put 5 into your warp, and then when you do that, you choose any number of opponent's battle cards without blocker, which costs up to 5 or less, and send it to warp. This is my veggies kind of killer, or warper, I guess, since you don't KO it. And it's just super useful just to clear the board and get your stuff going, because red really just does not have that much removal, and this deck does not have removal at all as well, just other than the topo, I guess. That doesn't really matter. Anyway, so overall, I feel like Pan is very competitive. If you took this deck into a local, I think you would do pretty okay. It's just that you have to, the thing about it is that no matter how much money you spend on a card, there's 2 things that really, in my experience, matter. Is 1, the way that you play the deck and how you intend the deck, and 2, who you're playing and what your meta is. So quote unquote meta is just the types of decks that you'll run into in your locals or just in general, and that's really the 2 things. If you don't adjust to the meta or what you're playing against, then you're gonna lose. If you don't get used to and understand your deck, you're gonna lose too, and that applies to any TCG. And again, if you take a look at the prices, these guys, it came out to $48. Other than the pan's like, I think the pan's like less than $1, maybe. That's combination attack pan, which would be nice, but you really don't need it. Oh, ha! She's not even $1. She's like 7 cents, so that's not even something to talk about, really. So just in general, again, this is a pretty cheap deck as it is. If you do buy 2 of the Cross World starter deck, and then the Mass Aeons is really the only thing that's really actually expensive. You might be thinking, hey, what about these other red cards I always see people playing, like Jiren and as well as Fearless Pan? Okay, well, let's go take a look at them real quick. So Jiren himself is a stupidly good card. Oh, he's only $12 now. What? Word? Okay, I'm cool with it. I might pick up some Jirens. Anyway, so if you have like 2 or 3 of them in your deck, that's already $20-something, right? That's like $25. And the market price still is $16 itself. So if you go to a local game shop, they're probably gonna charge you $16 to $17. Fearless Pan itself is about $16 as well. So again, though, I would personally play a playset. I personally have a playset in my Pan deck, in real life and as well as on tap. But this is kind of the game changer as well when you are playing all these other red cards, and it gains 5,000 in double strike. It's really very useful. So overall, I think there's again a lot of ways you can take the deck, but if you net deck this, which means copy this deck and play it, I feel like you will be okay. I think if you just if you ever see me open up, I think it's YouTube's, if you ever end up playing the deck and try to get practice with it, I would try to practice here before you take a local, and before you go into anything else. If you need help with mulliganing or just playstyle or anything, let me know. Personally, for this one, I would actually drop all of these. That way you can play this on their turn, or play this on their turn. I would probably play this on their turn, so that way you have another body on the next turn. If it's your turn, then I would place one. So let me go ahead and shuffle real quick and then draw 3 more. I would probably place this guy and then place him, and you get the point. You get the point. There's a lot of stuff that you could do, right? Oh, look at that. No tar. Oh, wait. Yeah, there's a target. I was about to say, I was like, no targets. How? I got like 13 of those motherfuckers. If you do have questions, let me know. Personally, again, turn 1, I would be using this guy if you do have him in your hand. Anyway, that is about it. I hope this helped. I hope this explained a little bit about the process of just building a deck just a little bit, and for Pan just a little bit. If you have any suggestions about starter decks, let me know. If you have suggestions about cheap decks, let me know. On my mind, androids come to mind. Dr. Mew comes to mind. It just takes some time to get used to and understand. Even the starter deck Goku, I'm gonna say a couple variants of that is really good. Won't say Broly, that's way too much. Maybe even some Genyu variants can get you competitive as well. But as it stands, this is just one of the options, and if you like the playstyle, if you like the leader, if you like the cards that's in it, try it out. Try it out, see how it is in your locals or on tap, and let me know. Until then, I will see you in the next one. Later.